my friend dear Kyle Freedman, who was my physio 15 months ago when our van got totaled, and we were driving one of our sons to Victoria, and this car pulled right out in front of us, and we crashed right into this car. We had a beautiful van that we babied, and we had no idea what to do. As we saw in the split second of the car coming towards us, I shouted out, "Jesus!" like we did. It was like we had an invisible airbag, and so my top body wasn't injured, my wife was not injured at all, but I got a bit of whiplash. But we had a major crash, and the van was a write-off. So that caused me to meet this chap here called Kyle Freedman, who is a physiotherapist in White Rock. And he's going to tell you a bit about what went on when I was getting treatment, and I think he got a bit of inspiration for a product design. And so, yeah, I'll give Kyle the floor, so if you can give a round of applause to Kyle, that'd be great.
This is quick here. Yeah, so just to give everybody a little bit of a background on me. Like Andrew said, I'm a physiotherapist. I've been working for 4 years. I graduated from UBC with a bachelor's degree in kinesiology. I went on to get my master's degree in physiotherapy from UBC. I was also a varsity soccer player at UBC, and still enjoy spending a lot of time playing sports and working in physiotherapy with soccer primarily. I did work on Andrew, and I have a neat little story just from chatting with him. I had an idea for an invention, and he inspired me to move forward on that project, and a nice chunk of what I want to share today is just actually how God's answered prayer, and how the amazing way that things have fallen into place with this invention over the last few years. And it's supposed to be finished at the end of this week, so it's ironic timing. So I normally worked, or the last 4 years I've been working at a clinic in South Surrey at Granby Corners, and then recently I just quit to pursue my own retirement home visits business, as well as the invention. And so I'm doing that. I was at some places this morning right before coming here, and I'm enjoying that. I'm married. I've been married for 4 years. I live in Strawberry Hill with my wife in an apartment there, and yeah, happy to be with you guys here today. You know, I was talking with Andrew about what I was going to be sharing today, and he was asking me to share my testimony, and it'll be a little bit different, more focused kind of on finding happiness, or the differences between happiness and fulfillment, and trying to find fulfillment in your life. Because I grew up in a Christian home, never really, had any big conversion, moment where I was, wandering away from the Lord and then came back or anything. But I've actually had more of a struggle with trying to find fulfillment in my life and trying to be content, in any circumstance in your life. So I just thought I'd share my journey with that, and also some of the things that I've been doing to live a life with purpose for God. So to start off, I just wanted to define how I'm going to be using the terms happiness and fulfillment today. Happiness is the way that I'm going to be talking about it. It's a temporary feeling of joy. It's a time out with friends. It's a day on holiday, something like that. It's a temporary state of enjoyment, versus fulfillment, as I'm going to be describing it, is kind of, when it's quiet, when you're alone at home, the down times in your life, that you still feel this contentment, and you're not lonely, you're not struggling, but you really are content with your life and with your relationship with God and all those different things. So, I think in the world today, there's a lot of people, especially in North America, who struggle with fulfillment. I think there's a lot of people who have, you know, happy times from time to time, and I think there's a lot of people who enjoy going out with their friends and, you know, having parties and different things like that. But, you know, when you really ask them, especially later on in life, as they're starting to get older, you know, that they don't feel fulfilled, they're not content. You know, I think you definitely see that with people in, you know, who've achieved a lot or own a lot of things, but they kind of find emptiness in a lot of their possessions and different things that they own. So I'm just going to share with you kind of a little bit of my journey on what I've done to try and achieve fulfillment. So for me, growing up, I'm a big extrovert. I love spending time with people, and my dream vacation is basically filled with person after person, day after day, having as minimal amounts of alone time as possible, which drives my wife crazy, but you know, that's what I like. And so for me, the most obvious thing to work towards, or, you know, the goal to set for myself on how to be fulfilled, was just trying to get as many friends as possible, so that if I ever wanted to spend time with people, I could, no matter what. And I mean, I think for a lot of people that's not necessarily the goal, but I think most people have in their mind that there's you know, a certain goal they have to reach, a certain accomplishment, you know, whether it be a house, money, a job, you know, certain things like that. They think that they need to work towards in order to feel fulfilled. And so for me, that was just working towards having as many friends as possible. You know, throughout my high school years, I made more and more friends, and probably in grade 12 is when you can say that I was kind of at my peak, most friends possible. And I remember on Christmas vacation, doing something with people every day on a two-week break, and thinking, you know, at the end of the trip, I mean, at the end of the 2 weeks vacation when we were going back to school, that really, you know, I didn't feel any more fulfilled, any more content, and I was still kind of, you know, a little bit surprised to think that all this stuff that I've been working towards really didn't, you know, change the way I felt. I had a lot of fun, but, you know, I wasn't as fulfilled in any way. So I just proceeded to, you know, come up with a new goal or a new thing that I thought would make me content, and that was getting into the kinesiology program at UBC, which I did, and then, you know, I wasn't fulfilled, so then I, you know, make the goal of becoming a physiotherapist, getting married, getting a house, you know, getting a good job, all those things that are good things, you know, but you're not going to find contentment in any of those things. So, you know, slowly I knocked those things off the list. I'm a very goal-driven person, and I think most people are. And, you know, right at the end, actually, when I graduated physiotherapy school 4 years ago, I got married right at the same time, bought an apartment, you know, knocked off all these major accomplishments that you've been working towards for your whole life. And then I always thought when I was done school, didn't have to study in the evenings and weekends. That's really kind of when life begins and you can actually have a lot of fun. And, you know, and yet still struggled with feeling fulfilled on a daily basis. So, you know, the last few years have been kind of, you know, it's been an interesting period where, you know, spending a lot of time praying about it and trying to figure out what God wants me to do in my life to try and feel fulfilled. And really what started making the biggest difference in my level of contentment and fulfillment was when I started trying to figure out how to really live for God and figure out what He wanted me to do in my life. And it's amazing, you know, how things just kind of fall into place sometimes, like I'll be sharing a little bit with the invention, you know, when you start doing things according to the way that God wants them to be done. You know, the one thing actually that I noticed was really important was to be okay with not being happy all the time. You know, it's funny that one of my goals basically was to never be sad, you know, to have people around, to whatever it be, to try and fix your sadness, or for me, to try and fix being alone, you know, always wanting to have somebody around at all times. And, you know, the ironic thing is that You know, it's through a lot of the rough times in your life where you actually do the most growing and you do the most soul searching. There's a Bible verse I picked out, Ecclesiastes 7:2-3. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting. Sorrow is better than laughter. And when you think about that, you know, the first time I read that, I kind of, you know, read it a couple times to make sure I wasn't reading the wrong thing. And it sounds odd, but when you really think about it, it makes, you know, tremendous sense. You know, when you're in a house of mourning and say somebody dies, you know, that's really when your true friends, your true family members, the people who really care about you show up, and you really reflect on the things that matter in life. You know, suddenly whatever pair of pants that you spilled something on and ruined, and you know that was messing up your whole week, and you were just in a bad mood. Suddenly, it really doesn't matter. You know, it really seems to put things in perspective. And you know, the thing that I find in my life too is some of the times when I'm having the most fun, when I'm spending the most time, you know, with friends and family. You know, and those things are good, but they don't really cause you to reflect on the important things in life, and often it can actually distract you from spending time with God, you know, from having daily devotions, all those kind of things, because you're too busy doing, you know, fun activities with other people. So, you know, I've been just trying to embrace those times when I'm, you know, feeling a little bit lonely or, you know, just in a rough patch, and just really press into spending time, you know, reading God's Word and praying, and I find that when I do that, it really kind of, you know, re-energizes me and gets me moving forward. The other thing I've been finding is that I need to be finding fulfillment in God and my relationship with God, and living out a life for Him rather than trying to achieve different things like a house, a car, you know, lots of friends, all those kind of different things. So really what I started doing over the past few years is really praying about what God wanted me to do with my life. And you know, one of the things that there was a sermon that I heard at the Village Church at the Bell Center there, and the one sermon was about prayer and what to expect from prayer, and I really liked the message from it, and so I just wanted to share with you. You know, sometimes God will give us a clear, you know, idea of what we're supposed to be doing, but oftentimes He doesn't. And I think when you're, you know, when you're praying about what you're supposed to be doing in your life, you shouldn't always be waiting for this, you know, loud booming voice to be telling you what to do, or to have this incredibly clear, you know, sound of what you need to do. I think that's why God gave us a brain. I think that's why He gave us mentors, people that we, you know, believe in and can ask about their advice and their opinion. And I think He wants you to try and figure out what, you know, what His plan is for your life, and really seek Him, and then just start moving forward. And from what I've found so far is that, you know, when you're doing that, I think He really honors you trying to do what you think He has planned for His life, for your life. And He opens doors where they're supposed to be open, and He closes doors, you know, where they're not supposed to be opening. So for me, I just wanted to give some tangible examples of you know, what living a life for God has been in my life. Because I know that's a little bit of a vague, churchy saying, to be living a, you know, life for God. So, you know, for me, I think it's, and I think for everybody, it's quite as simple as trying to figure out what you're passionate about, what kind of things do you enjoy, what kind of talents has God given you, and then start using those things in your community and your church, you know, to help out for the, you know, for God's kingdom. So for me, some of the things I'm passionate about are people, obviously. Sports, and marriage, and evangelism. So my wife and I are actually going to be starting a young married small group that's just for young married couples, and going through some different marriage books, which I think there's a huge need for in church especially, but you know, in the world in general. I think there's a lot of people in the world today that give up on marriages a lot too early, and they don't realize that it's actually a skill to be able to fight properly and constructively. And I think there's a lot of different things that you can learn about marriages, and in order to have an amazing, blessed marriage. And so my wife and I wanted to help out other people at our church in achieving that. So we started that small group. There's an idea I have for outreach for teenage boys, which I ran by some of the pastors at Village, and it's not a great fit right now, but we're looking at doing something in the future. So it's as simple as, I love playing sports, I love spending time with people, and I remember as a teenager going to a bunch of youth group events and not really feeling comfortable to invite any of my non-Christian friends to come to a Bible study because it's a little bit too intense, and none of them, to be honest, really cared. They didn't go to anything like that. It's a little bit too churchy and not enough of kind of easing them in. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to see a lot of churches have kind of drop-in sports nights and different things where it's just sports. You can pray beforehand. You can have a lot of Christian guys there trying to become friends with some of, when I was a teenager, my non-Christian buddies. And then they feel more comfortable to come out to more events. And I think it's a great outreach that there isn't enough of. So, there's certain things like that where I think people just need to be reflecting on what their passion is, what their talents are, and then figuring out a way to use that for God. And that's what my wife and I are trying to do, and I've just been having a lot of fun doing that. And then the last thing actually is the invention. So I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I had an idea for an invention, but kind of figured, I don't really know what the chances of it ever becoming anything are. And ironically, Andrew came in, and I think he was telling me that I can't remember what he was working on at the time, but that he did inventions, and he had some different things that had been sold in Home Depot, correct? Yeah. So, and then he just really encouraged me, if I had an idea, that I really should move forward with it and see what I can do to, have it, be moved into production. So there's obviously a lot of things to figure out and try and learn, but that kind of got the wheels turning a little bit. And one of the main things that actually got me started was at Village Church. There's, I guess, the main kind of charity that our church is focused on is the Dalit. I'm not saying that right. Dalit, yeah, Freedom Network, which is about the Dalit, which are the lowest caste in India, and there's 200 million of them living in slums. And in the Hindu faith, which is the number one faith in India, they're considered less than animals, and they're being punished for the sins of a past life. And so people actually aren't supposed to be helping them out, because if they're helped out, if they're getting relief from their suffering, they're just going to have to suffer in another life, in the next life. So we're just really touched by this people group that really have no hope, and their jobs are usually cleaning out outhouses and carrying around human excrement, and to be totally rejected by the religion in their country, actually, in my opinion, creates an incredible opportunity for Christianity, as one of the pastors in the Freedman Network who came to our church told us that because they've been told that they're worthless for their whole life, there's certain parts of the gospel that really seem to grab them, and when they're told that they're made in the image of God, it really seems to transform their lives. That they view kind of God as this distant thing that they really can't have a relationship with, and when they find out that they can, there's just huge numbers of them that are becoming Christians. So the Elite Freedom Network are building schools in India. Has anybody here the Elite Freedom Network? Yeah, so you're aware of it, so I can skim over this part. But basically, we were told that there's 5 churches being being built around basically every school that's being built, and there's a ton of Hindu and Muslim kids that are going to the Christian schools because the education is better, and Christianity is just becoming huge in each of these local areas where schools started. So that got my wife and I really excited, and I think the schools cost about $130,000 or something like that for one school to be done. But we were just thinking, if you donate $130,000, you could be having thousands of kids come to know God, who are telling their parents about God, and this caste system, which is so horrible. If you're educating the lowest members of caste system, and they're the most highly educated people in the country in 20 years, you could be really having a great chance to overturn this caste system and turn around the country, and also turn it around for God, because there's 200 million of these people that are desperate to hear about God. So my wife and I were just dreaming about how could we donate more money. So what we started doing, actually from when we first got married, is we've been increasing our tithe by 1% every year, and we're at 15% this year, and we're trying to, our goal is to increase our tithe by 1% every year until we die. So obviously that could become an issue if you're not making very much money. So one of the things that we've been trying to figure out is, I've been doing a little bit of dreaming with the invention, and it was kind of, this thing that I've been thinking about, but didn't take too seriously until I actually met with a friend, my wife's best friend's dad. His name is Arthur Timmis, and he was CEO of a big medical company, and also on the Fraser Health Board, and I told him the idea, and he told me that it was a great idea, and I should really move forward with it and think about putting some of my jobs that I was working a lot to focus on it more. And then that's when I really started moving forward on it the last 6 months. So I want to give you a bit of a summary on how the invention is coming to play, but a quick description on it so that you know what it is. It's called bed bike. It's basically an arm cycle that fits over your lap in a hospital bed. They are quite common in physiotherapy departments, but the only models made are quite heavy, quite large. And so all I did really was change some of the design and make it out of aluminum tubing that can fold down into a really compact position, and then also fold out and sit over people's laps in hospital beds. Because the #1 cause of death in hospitals is pneumonia, so this really is targeting seniors who have falls, break a hip, have surgery, and then when they're in the hospital they get pneumonia and die because they're not walking, they're not allowed to get up and move unless a physio comes and walks them, and physios only have time to do 1 or 2 little kind of 15-minute bouts of exercise, and then the rest of the day people are in the hospital bed. So my dream would be, hopefully, to get this into hospitals, to be able to create business out of it, and then to have the financial freedom to spend a lot of time working and donating money towards the Delete Freedom Network. So that's the big goal, and the neat thing about it is it starts back all the way from when I was first graduating. How am I doing for time?
2 more minutes.
Okay, so the quick summary. I graduated, I was going to be getting a job at this great clinic by one of the profs at UBC, and told him I wanted to travel with my wife before starting work, and he didn't like that, so I didn't get the job. And I was pretty devastated, and I remember praying about it and thinking, this is horrible. That was the most money, the most well-established clinic I could work at. I've blown it. And then I really remember God, telling me, and this goes against what I was just saying, I really did strongly feel God saying, do you really think that what you think is the best job that you could have is better than what I can give you? And so then in that next week, I really felt called to applying at this job at this other clinic that was a startup clinic. But unfortunately, that meant that I was seeing like 2 people a day. So so I would sit there for sometimes 4 or 5 hours in between patients, and be making $60, $80 a day for weeks, months, for a long time. So I couldn't figure out how this was in God's plan. But it's pretty neat how over the last few years it's become more evident. So basically what happened was it was so slow I needed more work. So I started going to retirement homes to try and get more business. That business actually, retirement home business that I'm doing now, has really grown busy enough that I can do it just about full time. And now I get to keep 100% of that versus in physiotherapy, the owners usually get standard models that take 50% of the what. So that was great. And then what happened, ironically, is that somebody called Physio Life, which is where I used to work, asking if anybody at the clinic did home visits, or if the clinic did home visits. And the front desk girl said no, nobody does, but Kyle does on his own. And so I went to this person's retirement home, and this lady that I was treating, she had no legs, so they've been amputated mid-thigh from diabetes. And her family said that they were looking for some piece of exercise equipment that she could be using in a hospital bed because she couldn't do anything on her own. And I told them, well, nothing exists that you can do in the hospital bed. And they said, well, can you build something and we'll pay you for your time. So then that's how I came up with the idea of bed bike. And after building the one model for her, it really seemed to help her quite a bit and gave her enough upper body strength and kept her from getting pneumonia, so that eventually she was strong enough that she could do some self-transferring in and out of bed and get into a chair and then do some exercise in the chair and go down to the physio room and all those kind of things. So what happened next was I built a steel prototype with my father-in-law, and he told me I should really think about moving forward, but it's pretty difficult trying to learn how to do manufacturing and all that kind of stuff on your own. So I was praying about what I should do next, and praying, because I knew the startup cost would be pretty expensive. There's a good buddy of mine who is quite wealthy and is a physiotherapist and a good friend of mine, and I was praying for about a week if I should ask him to be my business partner. And I hadn't mentioned anything to him, and then he called me and said, hey, I have an idea for an invention for another piece of exercise equipment. Do you want to be my business partner? Do you want to start a company with me? So I took that as, all right, God wants me to do this. So I said, yeah, and I told him my idea, and he loved it, and so we decided we're going to meet up in a week or so to actually start planning some things out. And the next day, he treated a patient for the first time who creates aluminum bicycles in China and sells them in Costco. And the guy said he'd be really happy to meet with us and help us kind of get started. So I met with him and showed him the steel prototype and said I was hoping to eventually do it out of aluminum. And he was really friendly, said he would put me in contact with the person from China if we eventually wanted to go there, but gave me some ways to kind of really get started on figuring out manufacturing and getting some product redesign done here. So I basically started going through some of my engineering buddies and getting them to do up some designs for me and get the drawings built. And then I started seeking out some different mentors. So I contacted Andrew again, who gave me the name of Keith Anderson, who's a guy at Fraser Health and a good Christian guy that I could contact. And also the one mentor I had, Arthur Timmis, also said that he would be a great contact, Keith Anderson. It turns out Keith Anderson is the brother of Dr. Glenn Anderson, who is the doctor who owns the clinic where Physio Life is rented from, and he was the main doctor that was referring to me, and because he came and I treated his shoulder and made him better. So then Dr. Glenn was impressed with me and then started sending me all of his patients. So I know Dr. Glenn very well, and the person I'm going to have to be trying to pitch my invention to try and see if it can go anywhere is his brother. So I guess a little bit more interesting. So then the product is about to be done. And then I bumped into the clinic manager of Dr. Glenn's office, and there's about 10 doctors that work there. And I treated her as well, and she asked me where I was because she was looking to get some therapy and she didn't know where I had gone. So I told her about the invention, and she said she'd be happy to set up a meeting with all the doctors in the doctor's office, because a lot of them had different hospital contacts, and she thought it was a great idea, and that she'd be happy to set up a meeting with all of them for me. And it's incredible how, really all I did was pray about it and spend an incredible amount of hours trying to redesign and do things. And then, you can't understand how 4 years ago the place that I just felt called to work at has, for the last 4 years, really created all these different contacts, for me to move forward with. And, I don't know if it means that I'll be a success, like if the product will be a success, but I definitely think from the amount of things that have fallen into place that I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know if there's some contact or some job or something I'm going to be getting from it, that is not in the direction I'm thinking it's supposed to be, but, it's just really quite incredible how, if you're willing to do what you feel called to do, even if it makes no sense. I don't think it was, I wasn't being stupid. I was holding on to my job and working the evenings and weekends. I wasn't just quitting everything to pursue this. But it's incredible how God just makes stuff happen. And the one parable of the talents in Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30, just speaking on how God has given you certain talents and He wants you to do things with them. I really think, even no matter what stage of life you're at, I think there's always big goals, big dreams that God wants you to do. And I think it's incredible how when you kind of dream big and you really start going after different things, that God just makes stuff happen. And I think if it's not supposed to happen, He'll shut it down. So you don't need to worry about it. Just start trying to do your best, and God will make stuff happen if it's supposed to happen.
That was neat, and what I come away with that from Kyle is I feel like a danger, because I was so focused on this. I remember saying to Kyle, about 2 years ago, Kyle, do you want to do this for the rest of your life? I don't know why you're saying this. Sometimes you don't know why you're saying stuff to people, and you babble on, and you think, I'm so invigorated to talk to this guy. And he looks a bit like my son, but I know I don't look old enough to have a son. Thanks for saying that. I really appreciate it. But I thought, my goodness, Lisa, now he's telling me to quit the job that I encouraged him to quit almost.
Yeah.
And I know, I've got another friend of mine, Chris works, I think you still have kids, Chris? This guy does crazy product ideas too, and actually is so I'm thinking, man, you've got to be careful what you say to people, haven't you? But I come over with what Kyle's main theme was actually finding fulfillment. And I've got a quote on my website that says, I don't know who it's by, I don't know who it's by, it says, most people quit just before the breakthrough. Most people quit or give up just before the breakthrough. Maybe you're not correct, maybe this is not for you, it's just for a few of us. But I challenge you not to give up. When a drill's just about to pass through a piece of steel, I used to do loads of projects like that in Moses. And I used to drill a lot of that when I was doing the drill time. Just before the drill bit breaks through the steel, that's the hottest moment. And the most stressful in the drill. I guess you drill people know all about it, but I sure did. But it's the hottest, much the most tense. And then all of a sudden, boom, you break through. So I encourage you, as you go into your week, don't quit, don't give up. Because we have an enemy, whether we like it or not. And I love the fact that Kyle didn't quit, and I can see the smile on his face as a happy dog. But we've basically gone over time a little bit. It's my fault, it's not Kyle's fault. But officially finished, as I've heard other people say, so you're free to leave. If you want to stay for 5 or 10 minutes, just want to say a few more little things, if that's okay. So feel free to go and have a blessed week. And I just wanted to tell you real quickly, I probably should have told you this earlier. I told a few of you guys what happened a couple of weeks ago, and I want to use a prop. This nice tool. I don't know where I bought it from. I design a lot of tools. And
that's a hole.
That's right. It's a hole. And I've researched garden tools for years. I've designed a new garden products over the years. And really what we're doing here is remember that old song? That old British thing that said that we sow the seed and scatter. That's what we're doing today, you know? We're sowing seed and scattering. And this holds great for like breaking the hard soil. And this culture we live in BC is very hard. Whether you're trying to be a success in a family, in a business, or reach the broken-hearted. So I like to see ourselves here in Whitewood as groundbreakers. We're going to break some hard soil, so we can plant big seeds. I remember we've been working on this chapter, believe it or not, for a year. Back and forward, are we going to do it or are we not going to do it? And God gave me a very significant dream about fishing, and I won't go into all the detail, but He said, cast your single rod into the deep water, and you're going to catch fish real easy. And I believe that's going to happen. And He's going to make it happen. And we have lots of great speakers, and you wonderful people are going to spread the word and invite your neighbours. You know, when I was in England, I had my probe, and the first day I knocked on a door with my minister, my knees were trembling. I tell you, they were knocking. By the third door, it was normal. I loved it. I came into my own. So I really encourage you to take those voice magazines. Read them first yourself if you want, but pass them on to your neighbours. And there's an invite to the future events on the poster there. And I guess I'm supposed to tell you that we have offering envelopes on the table. I'm not a money guy at all. For those of you guys that know about FGB, in the future, if you feel as though you can help, so we can maybe even do that mail out with Dennis's dear gift with the voice magazines, that would be great. And the membership cards are on the table. If you know anyone that would like to join the White Rock chapter, it's a little oak tree right now. You can't even see it. It's below the ground, below the black stuff. But we hope it will grow to a mighty oak tree. And thanks so much for coming and bothering to pay for the parking in White Rock. And hopefully we'll be getting 50% of that soon. So can I pray for you before you go? Yeah. Would that be okay? My hoe in hand. Lord, we just thank you for today, for our health, and the fact we have a roof over our heads to get back to today, and maybe some of us have cars to drive home with. And we want to thank you for all these basics of life that many don't have, like the Gallic people. And Lord, we just pray that you help us to take our gifts and our seeds and plant them today. Whether it's a voice magazine or a smile to a grumpy person at a cash desk, or just be kind to someone at home. And we just pray your Spirit leaves with us, Lord, that we feel different as we leave this restaurant. And you give us hope for the rest of this day, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, have a good week, everybody.